Good morning, third grade. All right, so I hope you did well on your tests. I have not graded them yet, mostly because I have only received 6 of them so far. So that means I still need 5 more. So if you did not send your test in yet, please have your parents send your test in so that I can grade them and get those back to you. So if you look in your book, we just finished chapter 7. You did your chapter 7 test, and chapter 8 is geometry. Okay, so we're not going to do chapter 8. Remember, I said that our geometry project was instead of doing chapter 8. Now, if you're curious, which I would love it if you were, it would be great if you still flipped through chapter 8 and looked at what you recognized from our project. Pretty much everything that is in chapter 8 was in our project, but you could learn about it to a little more extent. We have vacation next week, so if you wanted to look at chapter 8 and just learn about shapes and angles and area and perimeter to a little more extent than was on your project, that would be awesome. Okay, so chapter 9 is very exciting. It's fractions. I love teaching fractions. I'm a little bit sad because I don't know if you remember from before we left, but I had just done a bulletin board in my classroom, and I had pizza boxes and I had all sorts of information on fractions because their 4th and 5th grade have also been working on fractions. So I would have loved to have done that board with you, but that's okay. We'll make the best of it. So a fraction is a part of a whole. Now, when we were learning division, we learned that the fraction sign is also another sign for dividing, okay? And we've talked about fractions a little bit in the past, and we talked about what the top and bottom were called. If you remember, the top is the numerator. Remember, we said it sounded kind of like a robot, okay? So we have the top is a numerator, and the bottom is the denominator. Okay, so we have the numerator over the denominator. Okay, so the numerator, the top part, is the part, and the bottom is the whole. What does that mean? Okay, so let's say I have a pie, a pizza pie. And I cut it into 3 pieces. Okay, the denominator would be 3. Let's say I eat one of those pieces. Okay, that would be the numerator. So the way I would write that fraction is 1/3, 1 out of 3. So every time you see that, you can also say the words out of. Okay, so I have 1 out of 3 total eaten. Okay, the numerator is 1, that's the part, and the denominator is 3, that's the whole. That's how many pieces there are of the whole. So this is 1 whole pie, and a fraction is part of 1 whole. Okay, it's less than 1. All right, so at the beginning of every new chapter, what do? We diagnose readiness. Okay, we decide, are we ready for this? Well, I know you are, but let's find out anyway. All right, turn your book to page 496. Page 496. You can either pause this or I'll give you a second to turn there. All right, 496. Let's diagnose if you are ready or not. Let's see if you can get the answer before I do. All right, so we're going to look down at that little term box, the yellow term box. It says 4th. It says inch, it says half, and it says perimeter. Okay, now next to perimeter it says page 464. We didn't do that chapter, but you learned about perimeter under measure it, the measure it part of your project. Okay, and fourth, an inch, and half you learned about in second grade. Okay, number 1. When a shape has 2 equal parts, each part is called 1/2. That's right. Okay, number 2. The blank can be used to measure length. Out of 1/4 inch, half, and perimeter. Inch. Okay, number 3. To find the blank of a polygon, add the lengths of its sides. What would it be? To find the what of a polygon, you add all of its sides together. Perimeter. Okay. All right, division facts. Let's see how fast you can get these. Remember, division is the opposite of multiplication. Okay. Number 4, 36 divided by 6. 6. Number 5, 12 divided by 3. 4. Number 6, 15 divided by 5. 3. Number 7, 8 divided by 2. 4. Number 8, 10 divided by 5. 2. Number 9, 16 divided by 2. 8. Number 10, 30 divided by 6. 5. Number 11, 24 divided by 4. 6. All right, number 12, Sam has 18 marbles to share equally with a friend. How many marbles will each person get? 9 marbles each, because 9 times 2, because it's him and a friend, 9 times 2 is 18. Okay, number 13. 12 students will be placed in teams of 2. How many teams will there be? So 12 divided by 2, 6 teams. All right. Turn to the next page, 497. Okay, fraction concepts. Okay, and this says grade 2 underneath it. So that means you learned this in second grade, or at least you were supposed to. All right, for each picture, tell how many equal parts are red. Then tell how many equal parts there are in all. Okay, so 14 has how many red parts? How many red parts? 3. And number 14 has how many parts in all? 4. So we know what that fraction is going to look like. It's going to look like 3/4. 3/4. 3 out of 4. Okay, what about 15? How many red parts are there? 1. How many parts are there altogether? 2. So 1/2. Okay, what about number 16? Number 16, how many red parts are there? 2. How many parts are there in all? 3. So 2 out of 3, 2/3. All right. Fractions are so fun. All right, number 6. Letter D. Sorry. Okay, number 17. Would you measure the width of your hand in inches, or the width actually? Would you measure the width of your hand in inches or feet? Inches or feet? What would make the most sense? Inches. Okay, a foot is about this long. Okay, an inch is about this long. So you would measure your hand in inches. All right, how many inches are in 1 foot? Do you remember? How many inches are in 1 foot? 12 inches. Which is longer, a foot or a yard? A yard, because remember, there are 3 feet in 1 yard. All right, number 20. Is the length of a caterpillar closer to 3 inches or 3 feet? Okay, if an inch is this big and a foot is this big, which is closer? What would it be closer to? Yes, Yes, 3 inches. Okay, and number 21, is the width of a doorway about 3 feet or 3 yards? Okay, this is a foot. 3 feet would be about this. So multiply that times 3 to get 3 yards. All right, so yes, a door would be about 3 feet, which is also 1 yard. All right, so I think we're ready to move on. All right, so let's find out equal parts of one whole. So we are talking about fractions, and fractions are parts of a whole. Okay, so we're going to first talk about dividing a whole into equal parts. A whole into equal parts. All right, so I am going to want you to actually do this for your homework, for a project. Okay, so I want you to actually, I'm going to want you to actually do this. So we're not going to stay on this for a super long time because I want you to do it and I want you to take a picture of it and show it to me. Okay, so on page 398, it says, David and Sonia must divide a piece of grid paper into 2 equal parts. They found different ways to make equal parts. So Sonia says, I know that 2 parts are equal because each part is 8 square units. And then David says, if I fold the paper on the green line, the parts will match. So I know that the 2 parts are equal. Okay, so it says use square pieces of grid paper. Now the grid paper, you can just use either graph paper if you have it, or use a square piece of white paper and draw lines on it with a ruler and crayons. Okay, so it says for letter A, show another way to divide the grid paper into 2 equal parts. Show 2 ways to, letter B, show 2 ways to divide the grid paper into 4 equal parts. And can you divide the grid paper into 8 equal parts? Okay, so I want you to show on a piece of paper how you can divide that same piece of paper into half, quarters, and 8 pieces, okay? All right, so that will be, so for today, page 498 is going to be today's classwork. Okay, so let's look on page 499. It says, what do you call equal parts of a whole? Okay, 2 equal parts. You call them halves, so 2 halves. Okay, 3 equal parts. You call them thirds. 4 equal parts. You call them fourths. 5 equal parts. You call them fifths. 6 equal parts, you call them sixths. 8 equal parts, you call them eighths. 10 equal parts, obviously 9 will be ninths. 10 equal parts, tenths. 12 equal parts, twelfths. Okay, as you get higher and higher, you're going to say, let's say you have 5 out of 25, or 5 out of 23. You're going to say 5 out of 23. You're not going to say 5/25 or 5/23. You could, but you're probably going to say out of that many numbers. Okay, so let's look down at on page 499. Let's look down at numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want you to be able to tell me if those are equal parts or unequal parts. Are they all the same exact size or are they different sizes? Okay, it may be divided into a certain number, but are they equal? Are they all the same size, the same amount? Okay, number 1, is that an unequal? Are those unequal parts or equal parts? Definitely unequal. Those are not the same size. Okay, number 2, unequal or equal? Equal. They both look like the same size. They're symmetrical. Number 3, unequal or equal parts? equal. They're all the same size. And number 4, unequal or equal. Definitely unequal. Those top shapes are definitely bigger than the bottom shapes. All right, numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8, okay? Those are divided into different amounts. Let's say what they're divided into, okay? Using the top, let's say what they're divided into. Okay, number 5, count them. Yes, they're divided into eighths. Number 6, 12ths. Number 7, halves. Number 8, fourths. Good. Okay, so for tomorrow, right, or you could do it today. For tomorrow, you're going to do practice on page 500. On page 500, you're going to do practice A and B odd. Practice A and B odd. Okay, so for today, you're going to do the grid paper or the paper with pencil and a ruler or crayon and a ruler, okay, and divide it into halves, quarters, and then 8 pieces, okay? And then for tomorrow or for later today, you're going to do page 500 odd, okay? All right, I'm excited about diving into fractions with you, and I'll see you in a few minutes.